In the quiet town of Daniels, West Virginia, Natalie and Michael Cochran seemed to have everything figured out. A big home, nice cars, family vacations, the picture of success. But behind that perfect image was a life built on lies. By the time anyone realized something was wrong, one person was already dead, and the other was facing life in prison. Natalie Paige Cochran was born in November 1980 and grew up in West Virginia. She met Michael Cochran back in high school, and the two became inseparable. After graduation, they both went to West Virginia University. Natalie studied pharmacy, and Michael majored in information technology. The couple married in 2000 and eventually settled down in Daniels, where they bought a 3,000 square foot home on 4 acres of land. They raised 2 kids, a son and a daughter, and Natalie built a solid career as a pharmacist. But after years in that steady job, she wanted more money, more freedom, more excitement. And that's where things started to unravel. In 2017, Natalie suddenly quit her job and announced she was starting a company that supplied firearms and tactical gear to federal agencies, names like the CIA, Homeland Security, and the Department of Defense. She told people she got the idea from the movie War Dogs. Natalie started asking family, friends, and even neighbors to invest, claiming she was bidding on government contracts that could bring huge profits. She convinced people to hand over hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some invested $250,000, others even $500,000. With her pharmacist background and confident personality, she was convincing. Everyone trusted her, and for a while, her business looked successful. The Cochrans lived lavishly, taking trips to Paris and Hawaii, buying multiple properties, motorcycles, a boat, and a classic sports car. No one suspected the empire was built on fraud. The first real sign of trouble came from an unexpected place, a local middle school baseball league. Natalie helped manage their fundraiser, which raised $32,000, but that money mysteriously disappeared. She denied stealing it, yet suspicions lingered. Around the same time, some of Natalie's investors started getting restless. They weren't receiving any returns on their investments, even though she kept claiming new contracts were coming. Still, most people gave her the benefit of the doubt. She'd built so much trust that few believed she could be lying. On the surface, everything still looked fine. Then, in February 2019, things took a dark turn. On February 6th, Michael and Natalie were supposed to fly to Lynchburg, Virginia, to meet a Bank of America representative about the business. But that morning, Michael suddenly fell violently ill. He collapsed and had to be helped to the couch. Natalie called a friend who was a state trooper and the trooper's wife, who was in the medical field. Both advised her to take Michael to the hospital. Natalie refused, saying he just needed to rest. Throughout the day, more friends stopped by. All told her the same thing, get him to a doctor. She still refused, claiming Michael hated hospitals. Eventually, one of Michael's attorney friends came over, saw how bad he looked, and personally drove him to Raleigh General Hospital. By then, it was almost too late. Michael was admitted unconscious. His blood glucose level was 21, dangerously low. He never regained consciousness and died 5 days later, on February 11th, 2019, at just 38 years old. The initial cause of death was ruled natural causes, but investigators weren't convinced. They interviewed Natalie multiple times, and her story kept changing. First, she said Michael's collapse was due to a testosterone supplement she found on the counter. Then she said she found it in a cabinet. Later, she suddenly mentioned insulin, something no one else had brought up. Detectives soon learned that on the same day Michael collapsed, Natalie had borrowed a vial of insulin from a friend whose son used it. That insulin was later found in Natalie's refrigerator. As they dug deeper, investigators also uncovered the truth about her business. There were no government contracts. It was all a massive Ponzi scheme. By September 2019, the scam was fully exposed. Natalie was arrested and charged with 26 felony counts, including wire fraud and bank fraud. She had stolen over $2 million from investors. Her glamorous life was gone overnight. That same year, investigators exhumed Michael's body to test for foul play, but results were inconclusive. Still, police were certain Natalie had murdered him. In 2020, she pleaded guilty to fraud and money laundering and was sentenced to 11 years in prison. Then, in late 2023, after another exhumation, investigators finally found what they'd been looking for: traces of insulin in Michael's remains. That discovery led to a new murder indictment. Natalie went on trial in January 2025, accused of murdering her husband with insulin to keep her fraudulent empire from collapsing. After weeks of testimony, the jury found her guilty of first-degree murder on January 29th, 2025. The next day, they recommended a no-mercy sentence, meaning life in prison without parole. From a respected pharmacist and mother of two to a convicted murderer, Natalie's story became one of West Virginia's most shocking modern cases. It all began with a dream of living large and ended with a life behind bars.